The Starland Vocal Band Show will not be seen tonight, so that we bring you this special presentation. Okay, keep forgetting to fix that. Okay. All the updates have been done. Hopefully this sucker's going to work this time. All right. So let's fire up the game here. Again, I deleted the other one. I'm going to go on last time, with the little console indie. I'm very horribly sorry to hear about Lulu. I mean, I've seen her in your earlier videos. You got Miso and Soul, and then you got the little brown dog that was there. Okay. All right, come on. Kind of curious. Okay, what's the story with that dog? And then find out. Yeah, that was the family dog. She stayed back home with the folks. So, and yeah, 15. That's a good run for a dog, especially a little dog like that. But I also know, especially with a dog that has been with you that long that's half your life, that dog has been there. Or at least been around. I'm assuming you got her as a puppy. There we go. And it hits hard. That's because it's I remember when I was a little kid, we had a little miniature cocker spaniel named Pepper, and same sort of thing. She developed some heart problems, and this situation we'd gotten her special food, but she kept going for the cat's food. And frankly, I think a few more precautions should have been done. Maybe get so that she can't get to the cat food. No, they went. They was going to put her down, and I didn't take it well. The word murderer was used. I'm pretty sure. No. So in this respect, you're taking it better than I did. But again, other dogs that come in. Because I was like 9. Okay. Which means that was over 50 years ago, and I'm still pissed. But I had more recently had me, I literally found her on the street. The Belgian sheepdog, but eventually found the microchip. Her name was Tiny. She wasn't. She was a medium-sized dog. That's part of the joke, I guess. I was going to name her Sophie until that point. I don't know how that would have taken, so we just went back to calling her Tiny. But she was an older dog. I figured probably 12 years old when I found her. And we got some good years out of her, but when she just got too old, then things started falling apart. I did what I could, but it hurts no matter what. Hardly a day go by I don't think about that dog. But there was also a chance to think, because my mom, I'm like, oh, we need to take it. No, it's like, you're not killing off another one of my dogs. And there's like certain things, like doesn't matter. In fact, I was 9 years old. I was still pissed off about it. And the dog went to a skipper key. Any little, look it up. The Norwegian breed, miniature Belgian sheepdog, basically. High energy. But the dog for a bunch of years. And I've gone to the Air Force and then come back, and where's Sebastian, little dog? And they just said he ran off or something. It took a few years to find out. No, they had picked him up and called if they wanted to come get him, and my folks declined. So it's like, God knows what happened to him at that point. Maybe he got adopted out, or maybe he got put down because he was an older dog. Either way, I wasn't happy when I finally found out about that. And I think the reason why they didn't tell me that is because I'd have gone charging down there, paid the fee myself. Okay, that's it. My dog now. Yeah, this is not something, Indy. I'm afraid it's not a pain that's going to leave. Okay, you're going to feel this. You'll learn to live with it eventually. Okay, it'll settle into the memories of but it's going to hurt for a while, especially if you dwell on it. And I'm not saying don't grieve. It's like you got to grieve. It's a natural process. You need to learn how to do that. I think with everything shit storming down on you, and the injury and this and something, I'm assuming, because it's only nothing on there, but I'm not going to presume. I'll let you announce that in your own good time, unless you've already said it. But like you said in your video, when it rains, it pours. But again, I am always open. You want to talk, hash it out, and we can work something out there. Oh, come on, you swine! Where's my thing? There you are. Because it's not just a matter of I've been there. Some ways I'm still there. Okay. Oh yeah, and that dog was the best dog I ever had. I mean, I was working the ice cream truck up in North Glen and selling some fudgesicles or whatever to these couple girls, and this shaggy black shaggy dog come trooping up, happy as can be, being all nice and friendly and everything else. Like, and the mom comes out and says, well, we need to probably call animal control here to get some, because you had a collar, no tags, and again, she hadn't been brushed in forever. She looked like a timber wolf. Yeah. And I thought, no, the gray and the mustard. This is an older dog. They'll put her down. So I figured, like, I also can't spend all day there. So okay, got up in the truck and kind of okay, she hopped right on up. It's, okay, I got a dog now. And so eventually got it, went over to PetSmart, got a leash, and she was the whole rip. In fact, at one point, when I was really crawling slowly through a trailer park, she got out. She trucked alongside the truck. It's like, get in here, goofy little thing. But when it was time to head back to the shop, okay, just drop her off at my mom's condo where we were staying. And the thing is, I'm at the door, and her mom's saying, no, because she knew she'd been through this before. We find a stray animal, bring him in. The assurance at that point we would take her down to Max Fun. It was the no-kill shelter downtown, and we're going to take her there the next day. After we're going to make an attempt to see if she lives somewhere up and around Northland, and kind of get back in the area where she was. Nobody, tried at the one door. Nope, we don't know her. Okay, fine. Then down to Max Fun, and they didn't have room for a dog that size. She's a medium-sized dog, but maybe 50 pounds. And while I was out on another route, the local animal hospital just up the street away, they couldn't find the chip. So later we took it. Me and my mom took her to Max Fund. They found the chip, got the information, found her. Her name was Tiny. And remember the last owners, they ran the number around and found out they no longer them, and the list owners they had, they didn't want her back. And when the gals at Max, she's already bonded with you. You sure you don't want to take her home? It's like, okay, fine. So went right back out to the car with her. We got a dog. So, and a couple of good hairbrushes for so brushed her all out, enough hair for another dog. Again, for 3 years there, but again, life expectancy for that breed is about 14, 15 years, so we had a pretty good run with her on that score. Jeez. Oh, there we go. Away, yeah. Darn it. All right, fine. Let's see. At least you can see what's going on. I don't have to try and narrate it. Okay. So we still have not completed any of the daily tasks here. Getting close, though. SMG or shotgun. Okay, so... And rare or better. I can hit him with a rare or better shotgun. There you go. And that doesn't matter. It's just XP at that point. Okay. And that's all done. So let's get there. Back up front. Back up front. Come on. Yeah, this is Liliana, the little snowflake. Piotr Rasputin's little sister who got kind of rapid aged. You know. She first showed up in the X-Men, she was 5. Then she got kidnapped by wasn't Mephisto, it was one of the other demonic type characters. Into limbo and pops out again, she's 15. So it's like Kitty was no longer babysitting, she was never girlfriends. Okay, so that's it. But let's see, bestsellers. Not gonna worry about those right now. So here we go. There's magic. And Luna Snow. S is after my time. I don't know her. So I'm not that, it looks like, good skin to have, but like I'm not in a real rush to it. Hogwarts are back. Would it kill him to put in a Harry or Ron or Hermione? I'd have to go with this guy and put him in Ravenclaw robes. I keep coming out as Ravenclaw. Then we got the Aston Martin Valhalla. Come on, damn it. Part of the mark of a Aston Martin is how does it look in silver? Because that's what it'll look like when they do it in a Bond film. It'll have to be silver. And Kim Kardashian again. The only thing I think I want out of this is the glider. The rest of it's like, no. Yeah, I don't think so. And these guys are back. Yeah, cute. Okay. All right, and you got the Fast and Furious Charger. Hey there. And yeah. Let me just go and turn this part on there. Not people actually talking for a change. Okay. Okay, so now with this, do this in black, and then another person in the 67 Mustang, you can almost recreate the Chasing Bullet. Yeah. Then we got these guys. And the Swoosh Man. That's like, yeah, let's drag out a idea from the 90s. Like I said, I'm still tempted to pick up this guy at some point just to put the Converse high tops on him. You should be wearing Air Jordans. Yeah, no. All right, then we got this their celebration of the Winter Olympics. Is this traversal? And the ski teams. Then we got these idiotic bird things. And this stuff. Oh, leaving today. What is this game? Okay, that's disgusting. Yeah. Fine if you're looking for, ready for Oktoberfest. Let's see. How about this guy? Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on here. Got some Crocs, Air Jordans, yep. And dragging these guys out. One of these days, I'm getting this guy. Like, it's the dude. Okay. I don't really deal with Star Trek Online because it's like it takes too damn long to get anywhere in that game. It's like so I really don't have any opinion on where the other source ships go. I mean, it's kind of racing how they're bringing some of those ships in, on the shows. It's like the Titan A, eventually the Enterprise G was actually start off there. Kind of the evolution of the Shangri-La class. Let's see. Okay, let's see. There's nothing in there location-wise. This is. But yeah, the game takes too long to get anywhere. I don't want to start off with a damn cadet, It's also a bigger ram hog than this game is. They're still trying to get anywhere. It's like deal with a glitch. I can imagine trying to stream with it. Oh, come on, you. There we go. Now let's. Let's try that again. That didn't quite work. There we go. Now, one of the better comics with Magic was New Mutants number 100. The artwork was there. The story was pretty solid and everything else. Then they followed up with the worst issue. They let Kevin Nolan do the pencils and stuff. The kid can't draw. Okay, I'm sorry. At least he has the, self-awareness to admit on certain things. I know on my art thing. But his, you need to send him to art school and better, proportion stuff. And some of the artistic choices. That one's, I was just offended by some of the artwork in that issue. Like one of the mutants, Danny Moonstar, I forget what her superhero name was, Mirage or something, but she was, as a kind of a Cheyenne type thing, or very lean, and there's a drawing in there. Makes her look like a fat-faced little Hopi child. What the hell? Have you even looked at previous issues? What the, and then scenes with Magneto, showing with the gut. It's like, and I think it was story-wise, it was a pretty key issue because it had becoming the Black, the White King of the Hellfire Club. So, but it was like the artwork was just so repulsive. I refused to even buy that issue. Well, one, I'm not watching Academy. I'm watching reviews. Because I already knew going in this, it's going to be Star Trek 90210, and it's like in Dawson's Trek. Or pick a name. Degrassi High, the next generation, because they actually did a next generation of Degrassi. It's like it's an embarrassment to the entire, not just to the franchise. It's just an insult to intelligent viewing. It's horrible. Now the thing is, this one guy, one of Avery, his name was worked. He was co-wrote Pulp Fiction and another thing. He worked with Quentin Tarantino, and he offered to write for Kurtzman on Star Trek for scale. This is an Academy Award-winning screenwriter, and he was willing to work for scale just to do something for Star Trek. Because in his house, Star Trek is it. His wife's a huge Star Trek fan. He's a big Star Trek fan, and that was kind of the kiss of death there, because Kurtzman didn't want anybody with any kind of ongoing affection for the original shows. Anybody who knows anything about it, he wanted completely new and untested. And the result is you got a bunch of hacks who know nothing about Star Trek, don't care to look it up. Come on. Oh. Damn it. Get around the rock. Can I get a shot off here? There. How's the high and mighty now, Barty? What they've done to the Klingons is nothing short of criminal. There's one thing have kind of cross swords a bit with Robert Meyer Burnett on the issue of is Starfleet the best of the best of the best? It's like, well, not necessarily. I mean, you're an organization that big. You're going to get a few misfits here and there. And I think it's rather, heartening that, there's a place for you in Starfleet, even if you're not, uber genius. However, one point where I will kind of agree with them, I think, is like when it comes to the Academy, you need to have some standards there, okay? Whoops. Oh, yeah, I love Lower Decks. Lower Decks also codes in the thing of like the stuff that Kurtzman had the least to do with creatively works the best because he actually allowed people who knew something about Star Trek in, and it showed. And that stuff connected with the fan base. Come on, don't lock him over now. Now, Akiva Goldsman actually is a fan from back in the day. I don't think he's not exactly an Uber fan. Because, come on, get over there. All right, give me that. Because some of his assumptions. No, that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. All right. Whoa! Shit! Here we go again. God damn it! Damn it! Come on! Let me get out of here! You piece of crap! Jesus Christ! I need him. Well, hold on. God damn it! Come on! Out of this fucking storm, you swine! God. Come on, slide. Slide. Let me fucking slide, you fucker. Even if it doesn't work like that. Starts glitching like this, I really get irritated. No. Bit of a boost. Okay, vending machine. God, stop that. All right. Shit. All right. Let's see if I can get lucky and find some shields here. That'll work. Oh, now it's a gold rush. Okay. Time to rack up some gold. Because that might still be useful at some point. Oh, frick. Yeah, lots of gold in these redwoods. All right. Listen, I really don't go with picking favorites per se because that's kind of like picking a favorite kid. You know. Okay, that's it. I do think in a lot of ways DS9 was a better fulfillment of what Star Trek should have been, or could have been, because they actually did take on a lot of issues and did it in an intelligent way. Next Gen sometimes kind of got in its own way a lot of times. So, well, now I find a 50. I mean, Voyager was okay, but there was a certain element of the jokes that Star Trek lost in space, but but then they also couldn't really commit to it because that ship should have been in much worse condition. Is the way they were selling it. It's like, oh, we got limited supplies and stuff. We got a long way to. And yet, how many shuttles did they go through? So there were issues there. Damn it! Slide, what the hell? Motherfucker! Bitch! Cut! What the hell am I doing? God damn it. Yeah, didn't think that was going to work. Well, the uniforms, man, they got changed because they got tired of paying Patrick Stewart's chiropractor bill. Because originally they were, the first couple seasons uniforms were spandex, which is okay. But the thing is, the spandex ran vertically, the weave, so it's like that's the way it pulled down, and it really did a number on Patrick Stewart's back. They're going to chiropractor all the time. So while the women's uniforms remained spandex, they changed it so it was horizontal, so it was hugging you instead of pulling you down. Whereas the male uniforms were more of a cotton thing, and they, Okay, let's get back to the lobby here. But there's a few things. It's like they were a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with. So they okay, let's change it. One, make them two piece, like we have top and I mean, you still get a bit of the Picard maneuver, straighten. That wasn't just him being, Picard being staunch. It was Patrick Stewart trying to straighten his uniform. Well, they should have. when I was a kid, I got my first copy of The Making of Star Trek, so I was able to look at it, the show, from the eyes of a producer, and why they did certain things, why were this episode, you know. Well, yeah, I got that's when they started, changing. It's like when Bill Tice was out, because yeah, we was developing AIDS when the show was just starting here, and he told me, "Hey, I don't know how long I'm going to be with you, because I'm sick. The HIV is doing its thing." And Gene's like, "No, I don't care. I want you in, and we're trying to get the band together here." And so it was. It was like by the time that they brought in some, okay, let's rethink this a bit here. We got the general look here, but we can make these work a little better. And we're tired of Patrick Stewart coming in and complaining about his chiropractor bill. Did anybody come back yet? All right, let this thing stabilize a bit. All right. Okay, they're back. Just a little question. But if you're interested in just in TV in general, though, that book is to this day still a masterclass. It's like this is how TV is made. Some of the technology has changed, a few things, but most part, this is how you go about doing an outline. Make a pitch to thing. Someone's got to pick it up. You got to go through the pilot state. They're bringing back pilot season. But also, I'm going through, currently is digging up a lot of the stuff that's like the myths that have cropped up over the years about Star Trek and how. For one thing, a second pilot, nobody, they were doing multiple pilots are nothing new. It's as old as television. Back in the late 40s, one idea went through like 5 pilots. Okay, the network really wants to do it. They'll keep, they'll try a few, 2 or 3 times. And thing is, what really little irritates me about Bob Justman. It's like, hey, well, they wouldn't done that. It's not doing now. It's not doing then. Bob, at the time that Desilu was doing a second pilot for Star Trek for NBC, they were also doing a second pilot of a sitcom idea for NBC. Oh, Mazos was a bastard. He was a lawyer forever, though, so he kind of felt like he had a part of it. But it's like, he was around during the original, so he helped, with Roddenberry's divorce, from Eileen. But he really started insinuating stuff with the next gen thing. Yeah, Chaos in the Bridge, I assume you're talking about. But it's like, no, plenty of shows before and since have gone through multiple pilots. In fact, the most famous one other than Star Trek is the Dick Van Dyke Show. That went through a thing. Normally, pilots do not air. If they do, it's unsold pilots that are doing like a TV movie type thing. When it's anthology, it's like tonight on Alcoa Theater, and that's probably what would have happened to the Cage if the show ultimately hadn't failed. It would have run on Craft Theater presents Star Trek. But the thing is, normally pilots, it's accepted. There's going to be changes in cast and format, and but they, because like I don't know, McHale's Navy, because that wasn't really a pilot. That was just a TV movie by its own. And then some of the networks say, hey, we can make a show out of that. Can we make it funny though? Because there's a few funny bits in there. There was a TV movie called Seven Against the Sea. It was, aired as part I think it was like Fred Astaire's Alcoa Theater. And a lot of the familiar things are there. Quentin McHale, in charge of a PT boat crew. But thing is much darker because they've been blown to hell. The boat's at the bottom of the lagoon. Oh yeah, because the thing is, again, it's part of the thing of knowing why they did it. Not necessarily, oh, how come that doesn't, at the time, Spock was just the guy with the ears. He wasn't. They weren't even sure where he's from. They were thinking maybe Mars at one point. Originally talking about making him, color him red. But thing is, red makeup on black and white TVs, which were still very prevalent in '64, made him look like he was wearing blackface. Because they said, "Well, look black." No, it looked like he was wearing blackface. It's like that. No, that's not going to work. And so they started spitballing around. Okay, well, and that's where they kind of said, well, what kind of colors, and also to think of why he's colored this way. And thinking about, well, let's see, let's suppose the blood, instead of our blood's based on iron, which is why it's red. Okay, green blood's kind of stereotypical, but is there a reason why? And it's a thing, like in case it comes up in a story type of thing, which it did early on. Copper. That's a theoretical thing, blood based on copper, and that was why green, and that would result in making look kind of jaundiced, which presented its own set of headaches because they weren't always on the same page as the photo lab. Rather famously, where they're doing makeup tests, not just with Nemo, but also they corralled poor Majel. Painting her green, sticking her in front of the camera, taking some pictures, send it off, and they come back. She looks perfectly normal, just a little ill, but it's like but otherwise, and they paint her greener. I went through how many times, and finally, someone calls down the photo. Like, look, we're trying to paint this girl, make this girl look green. Why the hell is it coming back red? What? She's supposed to be green? I thought he thought it was scribbling, and he was fixing it. Correcting it. So, once I got that fixed, sent another test down. This time she came back as green as a nice fresh lime. Like, okay, now we got it. So it's like it's like Major was banging the producer, but she was like, I think she was earning combat pay at that point too. But okay, let's just get into a match here. If they notice me, they'll, because they're already in a match. But yeah, the logical Vulcan background time, that didn't come until, again, you got the first pilot. Okay, and now here's what we want to change about it to make it a little more, what we think might work better. And one thing, they wanted just about the entire cast gone. They wanted to keep Jeffrey Hunter. Because he was a big name. He was a very big name still. And that fell apart because of his wife. But they wanted the rest of them gone, including, and they wanted to get rid of number one. Again, contrary to popular belief, not because they didn't believe in a female second in command. They would have had no problem with a female second in command. It's fine. Again, these are progressive liberal types. They want provide women's rights. What they didn't want was for the case of Roddenberry's making his girlfriend the coach, the female lead of the show. That's what they grumbled about. And a number of female actresses in the part of number one they'd been fine with. What they did, and it wasn't really Majel's performance in the show. It was the fact that she's only there because she's banging Roddenberry. And that was like, they told her, no, Herb, they were talking to Herb Solo. She was hanging around all the time on the lieutenant. She's his fucking girlfriend. Come on, what are you doing? But of course, Roddenberry can't tell Majel that. Oh, they don't believe, they're a bunch of sexist pigs. Actually blames it on test audiences. who just did not believe, who does she think she is? Yeah, well, it's debatable whether there were any actual test audiences beyond the execs. Well, again, that's the thing. That was the there's something because they're painting poor Majel green, putting her out in front of us, like taking some film, sending it off, and that's when it came back, looking not so green because they kept color correcting it. You're thinking, whoa, this is not good. So they finally got the memo. It's like, no, she's supposed to be green, you moron. Stop that. Then they finally got this, When it finally got to Susan Oliver being painted green, they'd solved that issue. Problem on that one was like she got so worn out during the shoot, they had to bring in a doctor to give her a B12 shot, and he came in. She was still very green, so he's so nervous. Don't worry, just makeup. Find a spot that wasn't painted green, like probably in her butt, and it's like give her the shot there, and everyone had a good laugh. No, they use Majel for all these makeup tests. The pictures that come out. Oh, come on, you. Like, there's a few stories that turns out. Oh yeah, Majel was that one. Because there was when Roddenberry liked pulling various practical jokes on people. Never pulled one on him. That would not go over well. He didn't work that way, but he would pull ones on like John D.F. Black, who was the story editor, more like at the time, like the script editor. But they did a little thing in his, and he hadn't met Majel, I guess, at this point. So he's tender, and she does one of these, who'll do anything for a part on your show and start slowly removing clothes, doing a striptease type of thing. And John's voice is going up a couple of octaves every time something's on, and she's really getting good, and Majo's getting nervous because she's running out of clothes to wear. She's getting kind of down to her skivvies here, and then right at the last second, the guy busted out. John, what the hell are you doing? And he's stuck with at that point, John, your wife on line one. Come on. Get in there. Yeah, that one's. I wasn't buying that it was Roddenberry, but apparently, there's some stuff coming out. Yeah, it looks like it was Roddenberry that kind of did her. But to be strictly fair, he was fairly drunk at the time, and so. But because. Grace Lee Whitney was saying, no, he was constantly flirting with her, and she'd slap him back at the time. But it's like it was some kind of a cast party type thing, maybe a holiday. I should run the things about when this stuff happened, maybe a Christmas party or something. Because apparently she was still in costume, and he kind of ushered her back, and then things got a little heavier than normally would. Well, yeah, he had constantly nailing the various starlets to come in. And the thing is, it was Hollywood time, so a lot of them it wasn't coerced. A lot of them, Mr. Roddenberry, I would love to be on your hit show. I don't mind being painted green and in a bikini. That sort of thing, That's one of the more annoying thing. Thing with Herb Solo, but like the way the offices were, like kind of a youth thing, and his office here, Roddenberry's across the way, and late night looking over, and he's nailing some babe over the desk. Something, please, Gene, you're married, for God's sake. But apparently, he got drunk and got a little, over the top there, and pushed things too far. And the thing, again, she's never named. She actually denied using it was him, but but it was some executive. It was like there weren't that many executives to deal with in that situation. And apparently, this executive, came up the next day very apologetic, and then tried to and offered polish stones as a gift. I think that's what Roddenberry is into at the time, doing these little rock polishing, polishing little decorative stones. I think, okay, and it's like I'll consider that a one-off in that situation because generally, the Roddenberry is not the type to actually have to force himself on somebody. You know, so I think maybe it was in this case. I'm not excusing it at all. It's still criminal behavior, really. But I'm just trying to rationalize how it could have happened like this. And like, I think he's been hitting on her constantly. Yeah, but I think it was like he was constantly hitting on her, and she was constantly sort of playfully swatting back. And I think he got a little drunk. Like, okay, that's goddamn it, we're gonna do it now. And got back there, and it was all that was also shortly when it's like she's gone. You know, in the case, it really can't count on her keeping quiet. you know, and just going back to normal. So, like the old excuse of, well, we need to free up the captain to pursue other women without having to worry about poor Janice ran back on the ship, pining for him. Her last appearance, well, pretty much, a little, well, I don't know. He had issues. Okay. So he was not only cheating on his wife with Majel, he was cheating on Majel because he was nailing Nichelle Nichols for a while there, and he had the epiphany to try and make it sort of a throuple type thing. He was driving around with Nichelle and went up to the place he had Majel in near the studio, and let's see, up to the door. He's there with Nichelle and Majel. Oh, Nichelle, Gene? It's like, I'm guessing this may have been back during the lieutenant days, because and I'm not sure if Majel ever picked up on it per se, because they certainly didn't, say something at the time, because they had a nice little chat, and then they go back, and Nichelle told, "Don't you ever fucking do that to me again?" No, and that I broke it off with him there. Not that Nichelle went into the nunnery or something, because when it was time to hire a regular line producer because Roddenberry couldn't handle it, that show was the ball breaker. And Gene L. Kuhn came in. Part of the interview process is that, they're talking, the two Genes are talking, and from the kind of executive bathroom in Gene's office, out comes Nichelle Nichols wearing nothing but one of Gene's sweater vests. Keep in mind the sweater vests don't go down very far. And it was the fact that Gene Kuhn didn't bat an eye. Just act like I don't see anything out of the usual. Just kept on talking business stuff like that. Okay, you can handle this. I hate when this happens. Let's just get this in. That was this is a guy who can handle this place. This nut house. Okay? If one of your semi-regulars come out wearing nothing but a sweater vest, and it's like, I don't see anything unusual at all. I'm fine. I mean, Gene can say, "Hey, I'm a Marine. I've seen worse than this," on a Tuesday. So, it's like that was like, okay, he's our guy. Mm-hmm. Now I'm letting this run because I hope to get the stupid thing. I'm not sure if that was really Nichelle up there or not. Probably, but I'd have to look into the production of that movie. But that's also the case. Yeah, they had fun at the time they're making it. Okay, yeah, Nichelle got to get a good laugh on there, and I think there was some squall in the fact that it wasn't her singing. And Nichelle Nichols was a fine singer. There was a cabaret. I mean, what the hell, So there's some issues with that there, but it's like. Over on my Rumble channel, I got there was a fan film group in Canada did. It was like MST3K doing Star Trek 5. And the robots are going, oh, come on. This is Saturday Sexy, a woman in her 50s doing a banana dance. Oh yeah, that's one of the things in the writer's guide. In the rec room, bust out a song or two because he's looking back during the war at the officers club. There's just a piano or somebody get a guitar and they entertain each other a little bit. Because warfare is probably best described as days, sometimes weeks of utter boredom and tedium, punctuated by moments of absolute terror. So, yeah. And so, yeah, it's perfectly in keeping for they're in the rec room. If someone's musically inclined, yeah, they'll start singing. Yeah. Now they're referencing, the scenes in MASH, where they'll be in the and go around a little sing along type thing. Actually, there was a pilot that Roddenberry did back around 62 or 63 called APO 924. It was really a lot, kind of MASH before MASH. It was a dramatic comedy type thing. Some serious stuff, but I had a lot of lighthearted moments in it too. So it kind of goes the thing about Roddenberry hated comedy. No, Roddenberry had no problem with comedy. But it's kind of like all right, hold on here. Let's put that there. Whole thing about why he didn't fire? No, Gene Coon was not fired. He was not let go. Roddenberry didn't want to lose him. In fact, he was a lifesaver when he came in. But it's like this APO 924 show. Another case of Roddenberry reusing names. The heroic lead was a character named James T. Irvine. Kept refusing this medal because he'd taken out like through the Japanese soldier hand to hand. And he kept thinking about the fact that these guys died right in front of him because it wasn't just, shooting from a distance, it's right up close and personal. And they're trying to give him a Silver Star type thing. Way too long on that. But the other two characters was a bomber pilot by the name of Pike. I didn't catch the first name, but I have to check it. And a PT boat commander by the name of Edward Jellicoe. So I think it's a case, Roddenberry loved reusing things. So I think it was a case of, the list of names. Yeah, here's a list of file names to pull up when you need it. Because I think by the time Jellicoe finally shows up, Star Trek Roddenberry's already dead. But the thing we first meet, Pike and Jellicoe, is one, they're trying to control their friend Irvine to, hey, lighten up, okay, but they have created this ice maker to take down to the officers club to sell ice cubes for 25 cents a piece. Make a little money on the side here. Pat Harrington played Jellicoe. Pretty fun. There's a PT boat commander in there, but the Navy PT base nearby on the airfield. And Jellicoe's got all the funny lines because he was the comic relief character, but it was still a very serious thing. The story involving some Japanese soldiers that are holed up in the hills, and they were using this village thing, and they're occasionally raiding the army base down below for supplies. Like, we got to do something about this. But after it's all said and done, it's like, they've saved the day, and there's okay, ice maker, forget that. Insurance. That's how we make, start selling insurance policies. That's how the episode ends. They're walking out discussing that. So no, Roddenberry had no problem with comedic light bits. That was one thing that Shatner made a point of when he was brought in and they screened the pilot for him. These guys are too serious. This should be this regular work day for them. And you're doing this. We're important people doing important things in space. It's like, this is a day at the office for them. They should lighten up a bit. And so they did that. And again, Jeff Hunter, they're playing it very straight lacing down the middle. Kind of brooding a bit. Whereas from the get-go, Kirk is like, okay, how did you get this? Again, part of, learning what the heck, how this show came to be, really. And the thing is, you can't just look at Star Trek. You got to look at everything around it and what led to it. And a lot of it, the lieutenant, and his scripts for Have Gun Will Travel. And something that just came out fairly recently, a lot of people didn't even know about, is a little mid-season fill-in show he did before the lieutenant. Because a lot of times the lieutenant was first show. No, actually, a little something called Wrangler. And it was not his best, because again, he's still writing stuff for Have Gun Will Travel. But this was like, okay, he's in charge of the whole thing. It's just him. He has no story editor to blame on this. It's him pulling the thing. And this character named Pitcairn. It's another name he reused from another thing. Or would reuse again. And this guy was a Gary Stu from the get-go. Like, this guy was perfect in every way. The women loved him, and then the men wanted to be him, women wanted him. And this guy was just, his shit didn't stink at all. So, so there was a learning curve here. Come on, give me that. But it was just like a 8 or 9 episodes, mid-season replacement thing. While the Ford show with Tennessee Ernie Ford was on summer break. It was like 1960 or something. And it was the noteworthy thing is it was one of the first of these shows that was done on videotape, which the studio stuff looked like a soap opera. The soap operas were done on video at that point. The outdoor stuff was spectacular though because nobody had done videotaping. So it was part of like Roddenberry described as like the ongoing education of Gene Roddenberry. So instead of had already been on doing stuff for Have Gun Will Travel for a while at this point. So it's a case of okay, this is how you do the big show. When you're the one in charge, and you got to make the decisions of what story to go with, how do you want to handle it. Okay, and and that's kind of where I learned the lesson. Okay, your heroes really have to have some flaws to them. They can't be perfect people, or they're boring. Yeah, I think I'll do that. No, hold on. Here. That's what I'm. Okay, here we go. Let's take care of this real quick. Yeah, it's part of like check out my history of Star Trek video series of those, and one of them was like how did this show come about? And it's not just they're not different. It's like no, they got to go back a way. They go back to his childhood, in fact. But what kind of a kid he was? Where is the what inspired him? What kind of stories kind of got his gears going? And his growing up and what going to the Army Air Corps, fighting in the war. And I think I go into his, the plane crash. That one gets a little, misreport. I mean, he wasn't flying. He was deadheading basically. Another crew was flying. He was just hitching a ride basically. It's, one of the benefits of being an employee of these airlines is you get to if there's room you get to hitch a ride on these planes going back to wherever. And it was on a flight over Syria, I think it was. And he was in the back, the crew up front, they were killed because the plane kind of went in. The result is surviving flight crew, which read as stewardesses, and then he's the senior one in charge now. But the rest of the crew that would be in charge are now dead. And he's got a lot, he's got a lot of injured people on there, and he's injured himself. He cracked some ribs, And they're out in the middle of, freaking Middle East. And that's the kind of experiences, that forms like what it means to, be in a crisis where people are dependent on you. And in a situation where you're in a command position, but you're not in the military, you know, and the people around you aren't necessarily military minded either. God damn it. Okay. I got lucky there. Okay. All right. Let's take a moment. Wait, there's a chest down there. I need to get it. Somewhere. But it's like after, because it's normal, pilot in the war, get a job, flying, for the airlines afterwards, Well, after that, it's like, okay, fuck this shit. There's one story about him on a flight. I really don't do a sketch. I try and at least do something every other day or so. It was a video, it's a live stream to keep the channel up. No, there's one thing, he's on a flight and he's just slamming them down. And passengers, well, you don't like to land. No, like I used to fly these things. I know what happens. He has a reason to get drunk. But it was like, okay, let's find something else to do. We want to, you still always have the thing to want to be a writer. So, want to rack up the experience of thing. And so, okay, what else to do? Well, his dad was in with the LAPD by this point. That's it. But he born in El Paso, but they moved when he was little to Los Angeles. And his dad got on with the LAPD. So, okay, fine. I'll use that and get in with the LAPD himself, become a cop. And he not really sure I got a favorite race. Again, it's kind of like, what's your favorite show? Like, like what's your favorite child? But, like there, I do really like the Bajorans, because that's kind of like Roddenberry is not the rabid atheist people make him out to be. He had no use for organized religion. He thought that was a load of crap for the most part. But he also there's something on the other side here we don't know. Something going. In fact, the best thing is, I think it's where Silence has least Picard's little death speech. I think I might just call that up here. Give this thing a chance to reset. Patrick Stewart also read it at Roddenberry's funeral. For Salon, but the whole thing. Well, they're expecting. Well, we really haven't seen much of the Deltons. Really, all we've seen is Aliyah. Okay. and what little tidbits you know from like background stuff. But that was a case of really Roddenberry becoming a bit of a dirty old man type thing. Oh, how about a race that's so advanced sexually they have to now sign a oath of celibacy before they join Starfleet? Really? Yeah. The same kind of thought process that had him thinking that Chancellor Troy should have 4 tits. Which Dorothy kind of put him, was like, okay, Gene, how are we going to line him up? Okay. Stacks of 2, 4 in a row. Like that kind of made him wake up. Like, get serious. Let me get this called up here. We're at also. This should be the last item on the battle pass I need to get here. Yeah. Is this? There you go. And that completes everything on the battle pass. And nothing on the other ones yet, so. Come on, damn it. Here we go. Why is the cap lock on? Oh, yeah. Got a little bit of diggies up here. Well, there's this one website, Chrissy's transcripts. Just like www.chakotia.net. CHAKOTEYA.net. She's got transcripts of every episode, every movie, Doctor Who stuff, Andromeda. It's like, the girl's clearly obsessed with it. Let me get back on this here. Well, in mainline Trek, they appeared only once. If you're going to count Section 31, they showed up again. But the poor girl died 5 minutes in, so that barely counts. But again, I really don't want to count anything from Kurtzman, anything. Come on already. This is taking too long. Come on, damn it. Open. But yeah, it's just one of those, where his, when something that Cameron Pasha mentioned, because he was working with him on, I think, trying to develop Spectre again, which was a supernatural detective show. He went to think about X-Files before X-Files, that sort of thing we were going for. Good night. But he got notes from Roddenberry about all kinds of idea of what Roddenberry thought of the supernatural and the So that he not a raging atheist. He thought he was could very much thought there was something out there we don't understand and can't understand. Well, let's see what that about. I should bookmark that actually, but another time. Things are running too slow. Okay. All right, so we've reached level 200. Throw another request at him. There's been a few times where I'm talking with, blame with B. Joe Trimble, but occasionally, Michael Kudo in his better days, and other people. It's like, or David Gerald, actually, we're talking about. And I throw this, I think Gene was going for this, and they said, yeah, that sounds about right. So I think, because, similar background, really, because, he was born in El Paso, I was born in Fort Worth. He moved to California when he was little, and he moved up here when I was like, I just turned 3. And again, I was on found out Colorado, Denver area, and Southern California, very similar culturally. So, my girlfriend out there thought she was telling an inside joke. I got it. That's what I know. How do you understand it? So I think I have a rough understanding how Roddenberry's brain worked. Okay. His dad and my dad were not totally dissimilar. Okay, his dad was a little more old school, bigoted type, prejudice. But my dad had but he also had some very progressive ideas too, which fed into Star Trek about how things should work. And my dad was a lot of the same way. He tried to stand at some staunch things, but he was those things like, again, he watched Star Trek, and I was sitting next to him as a 2-year-old watching this stuff with him. So I think I got a little idea of how his brain operated. And watched enough interviews with him. And I can see how those wheels are turning. All right. Okay, Lady V just left Metal, and I think they're leaving. So, what time is it anyway? It's after 10:30. So, Mountain Time. So yeah, that may be getting out of it there. So yeah, I'm not sure where are we quest wise. Dailies, 2 of the 3. Some of these I'm not sure. Just be experience points on this. That's a squad up anyway. And that's done. Actually, I think we're going to wrap it up at that point. So, and I'm not particularly, concerned about, let's compete all that now. Screw it. I got all the things I need to do here. So, yeah. Okay, so again, someone's got to pass this on that I'm talking about. So, Indy, again, I am so sorry about your dog, about your family dog. It's going to hurt for a long time, and I, nothing you can do about that. You just got to, learn to live with it. Eventually, you'll just be able to just think about the good times with the dog and happy, not how it ended. And the invitation stands. You need, want to talk? My DMs are waiting. Yeah. I think you can keep it as you don't have to admit you even talk to me. If you want to keep it quiet, I'll keep it quiet. I'll just, But you need to talk to somebody. Okay, like in the description for the for those EBT therapy, you need to change therapists. The ones you have have outlived their usefulness, especially if they're driving this transit. Then get the hell away from them. They're going to get you killed. Right. Talk about the whole thing. You changing your license. Yeah, if you get hauled into the hospital unconscious, like say somehow you got a peanut, you're going to anaphylactic shock, you're out. They're going to check your license and see mail. They'll give you a mail dose of whatever the hell it was, and that could kill you. A lot of medicines are based on your biology, male or female. Males are a lot more potent, okay? But the same dose given to a female could kill your stupid ass. So it's time on this thing to step down from the political grandstanding. It's going down in flames as it is. There was just another trans guy, guy in a dress shot up another school. You want to get away from this thing as fast as humanly possible, Indy. Okay, it's going down. It's going to take a lot of people with it. You don't want to be one of them. Okay, but like I said, I'm still willing to talk. I'm still, like you've got your own dogs, but they're getting up there too. So. They're puppies when you're still doing the video, but it's like they're not puppies anymore. They each, Miso and Solo got a few more years ago. So they're gonna, they're gonna be good for talking to after a while. They're just gonna look at you. Okay, are you gonna feed me? You need someone to talk to, and probably someone who's not necessarily right there in the middle of it either. Okay, a little detachment helps. Okay, so yeah. You got my number. You got my email. We can do a private live stream on this. We can talk. You can yell at me all you want. But you got to talk to somebody and get past this crap. I suggest avoiding politics because we got very different ideas on that one. But again, I can tell you, as far as you're worried about them banning porn, that ain't happening on there right now. Okay, not just because it's just human nature. We've been doing pornographic stuff since cave drawings, But also, this has already been visited by the court back in the 80s when Ed Meese tried to ban it under Reagan. And the ruling was the presence of a camera implies an audience. Therefore, it makes it a performance. And therefore, it's protected speech. So it ain't getting banned. You might get restricted out the was, and then do age restrictions on this stuff, which should be happening anyway. Nobody under 18 should be watching it anyway in the first place. So, and again, I've been supportive all along. It's a creative exercise for you. You enjoy doing it. And normally people enjoy watching it. They pay you for it. You set yourself up pretty well for it, so who am I to argue about it? And I wouldn't, don't, make a success of it, I mean, Amaranth's got fucking Lamborghini. Like she shows off her cars. Like you can, no reason you can't be driving them nice, than a Jeep. Okay, having your own house out in the country. But yeah, that's down the road a ways when you finally get your head together. It ain't together. Okay. Look in the mirror. You got things you are not dealing with, and the trans thing is not dealing with it. It's avoiding it. It's putting a label on it, trying to make it all better. It doesn't work that way, and you fucking know it. I just took an IQ test. I came out at 127. This puts me above average, with the emphasis on problem solving and finding new ways to figure shit, not just going with regular things. I can work around other things. So, but anyway, that's me rambling. We'll talk at you later.
That's all, folks.